Ghost Manor was released for the Atari 2600 by Xonox in 1983, if that's how you pronounce that. Your objective is to make your way through Dracula's haunted house, capture him, and rescue your significant other. You can play as either the guy rescuing the girl, or the girl rescuing the guy, breathing a little fresh air into the tired damsel in distress plot. The game features 5 one-screen stages, 4 of which have their own unique elements to them and play much different than the others. One hit from an enemy or hazard, and it's game over. On top of that, you're racing against a time limit, which is indicated by the hourglass icon up top. So you're oftentimes at conflict on whether or not to be aggressive. In the first stage, you chase a rainbow-colored ghost around a graveyard. Each time you make contact with it, you'll get a spear that you'll be able to use as a weapon in the next screen. The counter up top indicates how many spears you have. There's no way to die on this screen unless you run out of time, so the quicker you rack up the spears, the more time you'll have to finish the rest of the game. The amount of spears you need to advance is dependent upon what difficulty setting you have on. There are 4 altogether, so depending on the difficulty, the amount of spears needed can range between 10 and 25. On the easier difficulty, you have to get 25, which sounds weird that the easier difficulty is more demanding, but having more spears gives you more chances to take out all the bullshit on the next screen. Also, on the higher difficulty settings, you chase a skeleton instead, but there doesn't seem to be any difference. The second stage takes place just outside the house where a litany of spooks cascade above you, and an axe-wielding mummy tries to kill you. You have to take out all the flying bullshit above you first, then the mummy, and then you can get into the house. But it's not easy hitting the targets up top, as they're faster and the top one is hard to see. Plus, this freaking mummy's attack patterns aren't the most predictable in the world, so when you're trying to shuffle across the screen to get away from it closing in on you, you oftentimes have to just get lucky. Of course, this is all the more complicated on the higher difficulty with the faster enemies, and the fact that you only have 10 spears to work with. With 7 spooks plus the mummy, you can only miss twice. If you run out of spears, you're absolutely fucked, and you can't do anything besides stand there like a dope until you're either slain or you've run out of time. Once you're in the house, the next 2 levels involve traversing these maze-like hallways with walls that close in. Only a maniac would own a house that operates like this. You need to maneuver your way around and search the caskets, represented by these blocks, in the hopes of finding a cross. There's 1 in each of the 2 maze rooms. If the moving wall touches you, you're dead. And this is all the more dangerous in the difficult settings where the room is pitch black and only the lightning flashes will show glimpses of what's going on. In these modes, there will also be a lamp you can find in one of the caskets to light the room up. The 5th and final stage is the battle with Dracula himself. He'll chase you around the room, and if he makes contact with you, you're dead. You have to get him in the cell at the top of the screen by getting underneath him, and using the cross by pushing the fire button, which propels him up. This is easier said than done, cause he mostly stays level with you. Once you've got him in there, you free your partner and lead them out the door, and you get a little end sequence, which isn't the most common feature in an Atari game. Most of the time, the objective is to stave off death for as long as you possibly can until it inevitably happens. So it's cool to be able to actually beat an Atari game every once in a while. The game boasts good control and really cool sound effects and music. Plus there's a good chunk of variety between the stages. They all play out quite differently from each other, 2 maze rooms notwithstanding. But I'm not really blown away by any of these segments either. The chase scene in the beginning is particularly tedious and boring. But for a console that tends to be saturated with a lot of the same old shit, it is refreshing to see a game as unique as this.